This video is for education and entertainment purposes only. Please consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health plan.
Hey beautiful soul, it's Jacqueline here from the Labia Chronicles, where I discuss all things lichen sclerosus. So if you have lichen sclerosus and are looking to empower yourself with information, find acceptance, and reclaim your life, then please subscribe to this channel and keep on watching. And if you have a friend or family member with lichen sclerosus and you want to learn more about the disease so that you can better support them in their journey, then also please subscribe to this channel and please share my content with them. All right, so the topic of today's video is going to be travel and LS. So we are going to be discussing why some folks have a difficult time traveling with lichen sclerosus. I'm going to talk about my experience traveling with lichen sclerosus, and then I'm going to share a bunch of tips and tricks that I do to make sure that traveling with LS is as comfortable as possible and that you have all of your bases covered. So as always, I do have a free lichen sclerosus ebook. I encourage everybody to get this. If you have lichen sclerosus, this is definitely a must, but if you're supporting somebody with lichen sclerosus, this is also a great resource for you to have so that you can learn more about the disease and more about what your, friend or loved one is going through. You can get that by going to Labia.com/LS ebook. I will also leave that linked in the description box below. Of course, I still offer one-on-one LS peer support calls. So if you are looking for more individualized support and guidance, you can book a call with me. To do so and to learn more about these calls, you can go to Labia.com/support call. As always, all links that I mention will be in the description box below. And of course, if you find the information in this video helpful, please leave me a thumbs up and feel free to share anything in the comment section below. Travel is supposed to be something that is exciting, that is fun. When I think of travel, I think of going on vacation. I have these kind of postcard images of, people lounging on the beach or people, on a safari or, enjoying new cuisine, laughing with friends and family. And so the picture that often, is invoked when I think about the word travel is like fun and exploring and relaxing, and all of those good things. But unfortunately, travel isn't always fun and adventure and an excitement for everyone. So for folks with LS, travel can sometimes be really scary. In fact, many people with LS actually end up dreading travel, even trying to avoid travel. So some of the reasons that people with LS can struggle with travel is that the mere thought of travel brings up a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry and concern and fear. So for example, some folks might wonder, how on earth am I going to stick to my treatment plan while I'm on vacation or while I'm traveling? How am I supposed to soak before I apply my steroid? Other people might think, there's so much change involved in travel, right? Like your sleep pattern changes, the food that you eat changes, all these lifestyle factors. It's very different. You are taken out of, your stable kind of living situation and put into a completely different space. And so a lot of people are worried that all of that change is going to bring on a flare. There's also the concern of, long-term masking of your pain. So like, let's say you go on vacation with friends for a week and the plan is that you're going to do a lot of walking, a lot of museum visits, a lot of tours, and that you're going to go out for dinner. That's a long time that you're spending with people. And if you are feeling itchy or uncomfortable or in pain, we often feel that we have to hide that from other people. And hiding that temporarily is not so bad, but when you have to hide and mask your pain or your discomfort for extended periods of time, that can be incredibly mentally draining and exhausting. And so a lot of people dread having to, mask and hide how they're feeling in front of people. And then there's the whole physical aspect of travel, right? Like the getting to the destination. And so that can be through a car, through a train, a plane, any, however you're getting there. There can be a lot of worry about the travel itself, especially if you are someone who has a pain component to their lichen sclerosus. So there's a lot of people that will say, I'm worried about sitting on a plane for 6 hours because I can barely sit for 30 minutes without being in pain. What am I going to do on a plane or, a cramped train or something like that? So there's a lot of fear about pain and the physical aspect of traveling. So, and I'm only really touching the surface, right? Maybe if you want, share any concerns that you've ever had with respect to travel in the comment section below, because truly this is such a diverse thing and there are so many things that folks can kind of worry about. So I'd love to hear from you. If you feel comfortable sharing in the comment section, that would be wonderful. Okay, so I just want to share a little bit about my personal experience with travel and LS. So I am definitely one of those people that really struggled with travel and LS, especially in the early part of my LS journey. So approximately the first year. So if you followed me, if you follow my blog, or you follow this channel, follow me on social media, then you probably know at this point that I was diagnosed with multiple anxiety disorders since I was a little girl. So my having anxiety about travel and LS is probably not that surprising. So on top of having, a lot of anxiety and fear and worries, this led to me developing a lot of avoidance-like tendencies. And this is really common for folks with lichen sclerosus and, frankly, chronic illness in general. It's really common to start developing these avoidance-like tendencies. So what do I mean by avoidance-like tendencies? Well, when my symptoms were really, really severe, I basically I just wanted to be alone. I just wanted to wall myself out in my room and be miserable alone. I would be so concerned about going out with friends or family because, my gosh, even just walking to the bathroom in my very small apartment would be miserable to me. So I couldn't imagine, going out with friends and having to mask my pain, mask my discomfort, mask my distress all night. I was also afraid that it would make things worse, that like the walking and the friction would just irritate things. So I kind of started slipping into this space where I was just afraid of doing everything. And then that fear led me to avoid those very things. So there was one point where any invitation, like, do you want to go to a coffee shop? No. Do you want to go to the library? No. Do you want to come to this, concert or festival? No. Are you going to attend this family reunion? No. Like, I would basically decline any event, any invite that kind of came my way because of those fears, because of how much pain I was already in and discomfort that I was already in, but then also just being like, well, if I do go, I'm probably just going to make things worse. So it's probably better if I just stay home and do absolutely nothing. And that is how I lived my life for the early part of my LS journey. But luckily now that is completely done, a complete turnaround. I love traveling now. I travel as often as I can, which is not very often since COVID, to be perfectly frank, but that's okay. But I still travel when I can, and sometimes that's long distances, sometimes that's shorter distances, but I no longer let the fear kind of consume me. And I think what really helped was obviously a lot of therapy and a lot of talking with other people through these various, fears and concerns and anxieties that I had, but also obviously treating and getting my LS into a more manageable state. That really helped too. And of course, just learning through both trial and error, through engaging in the medical literature, through engaging with the LS community. I learned so much. So now I have all of these tips and tricks that I use whenever I travel, and this makes it so much less stressful. It makes it such that I'm less likely to have a flare, and even if I do, I'm not worried because I have everything with me to take care of that, and that preparedness really helps combat a lot of those fears and a lot of those concerns. And if you can combat those fears and concerns, or even turn the volume down on them, then you can start working to eliminate some of those avoidance tendencies so that you can start living your life again. Because we don't want LS to rob you of your joy, to rob you of LS. So the goal is to always, fight for bringing some of that back into your life. So now I'm going to share some of my tips and my tricks for traveling with LS. Okay, tips and tricks time. So if you have watched my tips and tricks video on preparing for a vulvar biopsy, which if you haven't and you do want to check out, I will leave that video linked in the description box below. There will also be a card up here. But if you've watched that, you know that I often like to categorize my tips and tricks as before, during, and after. So I'm going to do the same thing for travel tips too. So we're gonna first start with before, things that I do before I even step out my door. And then we're gonna do during. So while you are on the plane, on the train, on the wherever, while you're at the hotel, while you're at the new place, and then after, when you've returned from that travel, when you are back in your room, back in your home, and all of that. So we are going to start off, obviously, with before. So my first tip for before you even travel is to prepare a little LS care essentials kind of little pack. These are all of your comfort items that help you manage your LS symptoms. So I have a list of recommendations, and obviously you don't have to use all of the things that I use. If you need to add more, if there's something that I mentioned, you're like, I don't need that, cool. Don't use it. You don't have to copy this verbatim. This is just to kind of give you an idea so that you can construct your own personalized little LS care kit. And I keep gesturing down here because I have all of my items, so do a little LS care package show and tell in a minute. But essentially, some of the things that you will want to bring is toilet paper, a peri bottle, a sitz bath, your steroid or whatever treatment you use, any other related, vulvar or vaginal care items, like if you use estrogen, if you have any kind of hormone gels or creams, if you have any pain creams such as lidocaine, any of those, you definitely want to bring those. I have always included emollients and barrier creams, mini towels, and then of course a lot of comfortable underwear. And I also recommend bringing a handheld mirror, some very comfy, cozy clothes, and then of course ice packs. So I'm going to show you kind of some of the stuff that I bring here. And this is actually working out really well because I actually have a little trip planned in a couple of weeks. I might actually be in that area by the time that this film, I will be there by the time that this film airs. But I already have my little care package over here. So I'm just going to go through each of these items. So toilet paper is the first one. I always bring toilet paper with me when I travel. Now, when you travel, you will probably at some point have to use a public washroom. Now, if you have LS, you know public washrooms and their toilet papers are notoriously, they are the devil. Okay, I don't know who is in charge of the toilet paper, but first of all, it is like paper thin and it feels like sandpaper. Like it's so rough. Like I don't understand how, even if you don't have LS, like that cannot be comfortable. That cannot be comfortable. I'm sure it's really cheap and the most like efficiently cheap way to do it, but like, dear Lord, that will not work for me. So I like bringing my own toilet paper so that at public washrooms, at a friend's place, if I don't like their toilet paper, at least I know that I have my own. So you can pack a roll in your carry-on, or you can just like maybe not take the whole roll, but just kind of ball some up and put it in a little bag if you want to do that. So that is one thing that I recommend doing. Another thing that is kind of, with respect to going to the bathroom is I also, if you don't like toilet paper, I recommend a peri bottle. So I have this little travel bag here. So I'm just gonna take this out. So this is my peri bottle. And for folks that are kind of new here, I do have an Amazon storefront where I list a lot of my recommended products or products that I personally use for lichen sclerosus. So I have an Amazon storefront for Canada and for the US. I will leave both of those listed in the description box below, so you can get this one if you go to one of those links. And when you go to my storefront, everything is listed by category. So like products for managing itch, products for managing pain, products for periods in LS, different underwear recommendation, book recommendations, going to the bathroom with LS, biopsies in LS. It's all categorized, so you can feel free to browse around and see what you might want to include in your care package. But this is a peri bottle. For folks that aren't familiar with it, this kind of, I guess we're just gonna call this pink. I guess it's pink. In some lights it kind of looks purplish, but whatever. This area will be filled up with water. And essentially think of it as like a glorified kind of squirt bottle. I don't know if you can hear this, but essentially this little nozzle thing here, there we go, I think you can see it now, has these little holes here, and water, when you squeeze it, will squirt out. Now obviously there's no water because I would be squirting this directly onto my phone, and I don't want to do that, but the water kind of squirts out, and so when you urinate, you're kind of squirting the water on there to kind of either A, dilute the urine so that it burns less, or you use that to kind of clean after. So you're cleaning, instead of using your toilet paper to kind of dab clean, you're kind of using this gentle stream of water to clean the area. So that can be really nice to pack with you, collapses, and then you can kind of put it in your little travel thing. Now, obviously, if you are going to go through the airport security, obviously you can't have water. So just leave it empty. Once you pass security, you can fill it up with water. And then if you're going to the bathroom before you board the plane, you can just use this in the bathroom, rinse, put it back, and then use this until you kind of get to where you need to go. So I definitely like bringing a peri bottle with me. That can be really nice. All right, next on the list is your treatment plan, whatever your treatment medication is. So for me, this is my tube of clobetasol. So I have the clobetasol ointment right here. It is kind of squished to oblivion here, but that's okay. So I always make sure, obviously, to bring my medication because I never skip any days. Now you can either bring your tube. If your tube or your jar or however they give it to you, if it's too big and that wouldn't go through kind of security on an airplane, then one thing that you can do is kind of, well, not squirt, but squeeze some out into a small Tupperware. I actually have these really small Tupperware containers that I just couldn't find, so this is my smallest one that I could find. But I will often just squeeze some into here, and then that's kind of it. So I squeeze enough out so that I have enough to bring with me. And sometimes I like doing that because I'm always worried about losing things when I travel, and I kind of don't want to lose a full tube of clobetasol. So sometimes I just squeeze it out into the container, and that's that. But again, you do you, you find what works for you, and these are just kind of how I do things. So next on the list would be to bring an emollient. If you are not familiar with emollients, I have quite a few videos about emollients. I definitely recommend checking out the first video that I did, which is why emollients are so important for LS, why they are such an underrated product, why they are so important for folks to incorporate into their day-to-day lives. So I will have a card up here for you to watch after and linked in the description box below. So here's one example. This is a small jar of coconut oil. Now, if I'm being really honest with you, these little jars are not on my Amazon storefront. I have no idea where to find these anymore. So if you happen to know of any kind of small travel-friendly coconut oil products, please leave a link or leave the brand name or something in the description box below, because I would like to check that out, and I'm sure other folks would. I found this by fluke when I was shopping at like this big mall, and I went to this like little, not really a grocery store, but they sell food, and I just wanted to get a drink. So I went to get a drink, and when I checked out at the cash, I noticed they had these little jars of coconut oil, and I was like, oh, that's genius. This way I can bring them with me everywhere. So again, what I like about this one is 50 ml. So this is safe to travel with on a plane. On trains, you usually don't have to worry about like, liquids or anything like that, but great for travel. Instead of bringing like a big tub of coconut oil, which is what I usually have, it's like 2 kilograms. It's like massive. It's bigger than my face. So I like bringing this. Pro tip though, coconut oil, if you use any emollient that has like an oil base, especially when it gets hot, it tends to leak out of the jars, okay? So even this one, once I open it, it will leak. So I always make sure when I'm traveling for my emollients, I put it in a Ziploc bag, make sure that is closed, because I have definitely had my emollients leak out as I was traveling. And oil is not a fun thing to clean up. So definitely make sure that you've got this in a good kind of bag, sealed and shut, so that if it leaks into the bag and not onto any of your other stuff. Okay, next up would be a barrier cream. If you're not familiar with barrier creams, what that means, I'll give you a brief description, but I am gonna do some videos on vulvar kind of barrier creams in 2023, so definitely stay tuned. But briefly, a barrier cream is really just a thicker cream or ointment that basically creates a protective layer between the vulvar skin and the external environment. So the external environment could be things like chlorine in a pool or clothing or anything like that, right? So it's just a protective layer to kind of keep the skin safe. And there are many reasons why this can be really important, but I will make content on that in 2023, so stay tuned. So for one thing, a really popular barrier cream is Vaseline. Now I get this little travel sized thing here in Canada. I just get this at Shoppers Drug Mart in the little travel section. I found it and I was like, that's great. Instead of a big tub or even a tube, this is really, really small. So you can definitely bring this past security in an airport. So I really like that. Another great option that I enjoy is Sweet Spot Labs Rescue Balm. That is also this and the Vaseline. I also have that on my Amazon storefront. So Rescue Balm is actually more kind of marketed as an emollient, but I actually prefer it as a barrier cream. So the main ingredient, or one of the main ingredients in Rescue Balm, is zinc oxide. Now, zinc oxide is something that is frequently used in diaper rash cream. So that's the thick white kind of paste. Very similar consistency. So because it's so thick like that, I love it as a kind of barrier cream and emollient because it has a lot of moisturizing and soothing properties in it. And what I love about this is because it's so thick, it's great to travel with. This size is 60 grams. So again, this can go through most airport securities. But also because it's so thick, it doesn't leak out like my coconut oil jar here. So like if I'm going to meet a friend for coffee, sometimes I just pop this in my bag instead of this because I know this isn't gonna leak out. It's just really easy and I just, so I love this for travel and for anything like that. Okay, next up is towels. So depending on where you're going, you might have to use hotel towels or your friend or your family, whatever towels they have, which is cool, but A, they might not be your preference, and B, most people wash their towels in detergent that is full of fragrance, perfume. Now there's nothing wrong with that, but for some folks with LS, they find perfumed things to be very irritating to the vulvar skin. So what I like to do is bring my own towels, but if I'm traveling for 7 days, I'm not gonna pack 7 like beach towels. Like that's gonna take up my whole suitcase. That's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So what I do instead is I say, okay, I'm gonna use the towels that the hotel gives me or that my friends and family give me. What I bring instead are these little towel strips. So these towel strips, like, I'm not even gonna tell you, I just went to Salvation Army, which is like a thrift store here in Canada. And I bought like 2 big white towels and then I took them home. I got those for like $2 and then I took scissors and I cut them into small strips. And so what I do is, if I'm at a hotel, I'll shower, I'll use the big towel to dry off my body, but then I'll use these to dry off my vulva. So these, I know that I've washed these in unscented detergent, so I'm good with these. These are my personal little drying off of the vulva after a shower. So I love bringing these with me. They're not very glamorous, but they do the job. Okay, next up, if you are worried about soaking, and more on that in a bit, if soaking is either part of your treatment plan, so if you use steroids and you soak first, or if you just soak in a bath because you find that really relieves the itch, and that does for a lot of people. A lot of people find that soaking really makes their vulva feel better. Now, if you're worried about that and you know that wherever you're going doesn't have a bathtub, one thing that you can consider bringing is a sitz bath. So I'm gonna back up a bit so that we can kind of see the full thing. So this is my sitz bath that I use. So water basically goes in here, and then this kind of sits on the toilet, and then you sit on top so that your kind of anal area, the perianal area, and the vulva are kind of sitting in that water. So you can kind of put this on the toilet and read a book, listen to a podcast, I don't know, play Candy Crush. That's what I'm doing right now. Well, not literally the second, but that's what I do when I use it. And again, I'm gonna try to do this off camera. There we go. It collapses so that it takes up less space in your luggage. So this is also in my Amazon storefront if you're interested in it. So just to show you again, you pop it out, and that's what you are working with. And then when you're done, you can, I was gonna say crush it, but compress it. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but anyways, you know what I mean. Now you can put this in your luggage. It takes up way less space. So if soaking helps you feel better, if you're in a flare, or if it helps you manage your symptoms, and or if you are using steroids and you soak before you use your steroid, then this can be a great thing to have if you know that wherever you're going doesn't have a tub. Another thing that I always bring every time I travel is ice packs. If you follow me, you know that I am huge on ice. When I used to have a really bad itch and or really bad burning, which I had both of, the only thing that could really give me like quasi immediate-ish relief was applying an ice pack to the vulvar area. That was it. That was it in that moment. Like if I needed some quick relief, that was the only thing that would do it. Now, of course, my favorite kind of vulvar product for ice packs is a brand called Private Packs. So this is a non-toxic gel personal pad that is made specifically for the vulva. So it is made to actually hug the contours of your vulvar area. It goes all the way from the kind of clitoris at the top to the anus, so full coverage. It comes with these little protective sleeves, and I'm going to do a whole video on ice and itch and pain and burning and Private Packs, but really briefly, you know, you have this little sleeve, you insert the ice pack into there, and then you put that in your underwear, and it just kind of sits there discreetly. So you can get discreet, easy kind of cooling relief, and that just sits in your underwear. So even if you're with friends or family or you're on a train, you can slip it in there, you can go to the bathroom, put it in, and then nobody knows that you're icing your vulva. So these are definitely excellent to have. I have quite a few, so I always make sure that I pack these. We will get to some caveats about these though in a second, so definitely keep watching. The last thing that I wanted to mention was you also might want to consider bringing either a small cushion or like a donut pillow, I think is what they're called. I'll leave an image of a kind of donut pillow there. I do have a donut pillow, but I cannot find it at this moment. So another alternative for donut pillows, and I do have the donut pillow that I use. It is on my Amazon storefront as well. But another thing you can do if you don't like donut pillows is you can just get a small cushion. So this cushion was actually a very cherished gift that a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, got me. And it was such an amazing gift. I was so like, oh, it's so cool. And I still have it to this day. So I don't use this, but you could use like I'm just trying to show for size, right? Like not massive, but you could kind of like stick this in your backpack, and then when you get on the plane or the train, you can unfold it and then sit on that, right? Because a lot of chairs, you know, and planes and trains, they're not exactly designed for like comfort, right? They're just kind of standard, and some of them can be really hard, and if you're in a lot of pain, that can be really uncomfortable. So a lot of people like to bring these to kind of sit on top of. So those are kind of like that's my little like LS care package. This is normally what I bring when I'm doing a longer trip. This is not what I wouldn't bring all of this if I was just going to see a friend. If I was just going to see a friend for the day, I would probably just bring an emollient and or my barrier cream, depending on where I was going. I might bring some toilet paper and or my peri bottle, but I usually wouldn't bring like the sitz bath and my steroid and all of those other things, right? So you just kind of, decide what you need based on where you're going. Okay, so a few more things on the preparation before thing. I know this video was a bit long, but it's really important, so stay with me, please. So another thing or things that you can do beforehand that really help are being prepared. So how can you be prepared? Well, you can kind of call ahead to figure out what you're working with, right? So I'm just going to give a few examples, and this is by all means not an exhaustive list, but one thing you can do is, let's say you're staying at a hotel. You can call ahead and ask them a few questions. For example, you can confirm if your room has a bathtub or not. Because if they say, yes, your room has a bathtub, then you probably don't need to bring your sitz bath. So that's one thing that you can eliminate. Now, if they say they don't have a shower, they don't have a bathtub, your bathroom is very standard, you have like a sink and a toilet, then you think, okay, I will bring, my sitz bath with me so that I can do my soaking. So that way you're kind of prepared. If you're not staying at a hotel, but you're staying with a friend or family members, then you can ask them too, do you have a tub? What's do you have a shower? Just these basic kinds of questions so that, again, you kind of have a better idea of what you need to bring with you and you can kind of mentally prepare for it. Because if you travel with the expectation of, I'm going to get to take a bath when I get there, and then you get there and find out there's no bath and you don't have a sitz bath or anything planned to, do as an alternative, then that can really, really shake you up, or at least it would shake me up. So that's definitely something that you can kind of call ahead and inquire about, and that's going to kind of dictate what you bring with you. Now, another thing that you might need to do, or you might want to consider doing with respect to calling ahead is, again, this is where the caveat with private packs come in. So when I gave that little LS care package thing that I bring with me, everything on that list was safe to bring through security. But private packs, these kind of fall into a weird middle zone because it's made of a non-toxic gel. A gel is still, for most airlines, as far as I'm concerned, considered a liquid. So you may not be able to bring these on your carry-on bag if you are traveling by plane. So again, that's something that you want to know, because if you put these in your carry-on and you go through security and they see that this is a gel, they will tell you, no, you can't bring these, but they'll actually throw them out. So now you've lost money and now you don't have any ice packs with you. So what I do when I'm traveling by plane is, just to play it safe, I actually just pack these in my checked luggage, which is the luggage that you kind of, they throw it on the back of the plane, not the luggage that you bring with you, because you can put this in your checked stuff. You just can't put it in your carry-on stuff for the most part. But if you were not sure, which to be fair, I haven't checked the regulations for these kind of gel packs, but what you can do is you can either call ahead and explain what the product is and see if there's some kind of exception, or even see if it's okay. It might even be okay. So you can do that. Also, a lot of airlines and even trains and stuff, normally if you go to their websites, they will have a list of, restricted items, so things that you absolutely under no circumstances can bring. Then they will have a list of, okay, you can bring this, but it has to be under 100 milligrams. So this is 50, so you say, okay, that's okay. So check out those restrictions, check out those limits, check out all of that so that you know what you can bring and what you can't. Again, it just helps you be more prepared, because nothing throws you off and sets off anxiety more than thinking that you have a comfort item with you and then being told that not only can you not bring it, but they're just straight up gonna throw this in the garbage. Super wasteful and very, very, it throws you through a mental loop. So let's pause for a second, and I want to talk about what you could potentially do for ice packs if you're traveling on a plane, and then we'll do train and car. So let's say you're traveling on a plane and these are not permitted. So one thing that you can do if you need to use ice while you're on the plane, especially if it's a long plane and you need some pain or itch relief, one thing you can do is bring a big sock and bring a Ziploc bag. Put that on your carry-on. And then again, when you get on the plane, or even, you might even be able to ask some of the restaurants, depending on how big the airport is. The airport in the city I live in is massive, so they have tons of restaurants, and I've asked them, you can ask them, can they just give you some ice? And then what you can do is you put the ice in the Ziploc bag, you put the sock around it or a little towel, and then you can kind of stick that in the vulvar area. Maybe you take like a sweater or a little like blanket and kind of put it on your lap so that no one really sees, and you can kind of sit like that. And then similarly, when you board the plane, you might be able to ask the flight attendants if they have any ice or something similar. You just explain, you don't need to say that you have LS, right? Like, just say that you like have a groin injury, you pulled a muscle in your groin, and that your doctor wants you icing for the pain, and if they can kindly give you some. So again, same thing, kind of put it in the vulvar area and then just put like a sweater over top so no one has to really see. And most people aren't really watching you anyways, let's be real, but just in case. So that's what you can kind of do as like a mini workaround on a plane situation. If you're taking a train, again, all of this really depends on where you live in the world. Where I live in Canada, our main train is via rail, and they don't have any restrictions with respect to liquid stuff. So you can bring all the liquids you want. So this you could totally bring on the train with you. But if you're taking the train for a while, like I've had this out because I've been filming for a while, it's starting to unfreeze. So one thing that you can do on the train, you can also do the little Ziploc sock, asking the little person with the cart for some ice trick, or you can get kind of like portable coolers. Like, you don't have to get a cooler like that, the coolers that at least I grew up camping. So when I think of a cooler, I think of like the massive coolers, but you can also get like little lunch bags, like even for kids, and they're kind of insulated, and they have like, I know it's like kind of like a mini cooler, and you can dump like a bunch of those in there to keep those cold. And then when you want to use it, just take one out and go to the bathroom. In the bathroom, you'll put it in the sleeve, and then you'll put it in your underwear, and then you just come back and you sit. And the beautiful thing about these private packs is they're so discreet, right? Nobody knows. They just think you went to the bathroom like everybody else, and now you're sitting in your seat. They have no idea that there's an ice pack in your vulva. So these can be really, really great for that, if you're able to get like a cooler there. Similarly, if you're driving in a car, again, I always recommend getting a bunch of these, and, you know, kind of, again, putting them in a cooler and then just kind of alternating. So whenever you get to a rest stop on your little drive, you know, take a new one out when you use the bathroom, and then, you know, you can use your peri bottle in the restroom or your toilet paper that you brought with you, use some emollient after, or your barrier cream, and then put this in your underwear and then get back in the car and keep driving. So those are some kind of ways that you can use your private pack, or whichever ice kind of pack that you use, but that can be really helpful. So again, we've got workarounds for the ice pack, we have workarounds for soaking, we have workarounds for using the bathroom and staying comfortable. The last thing is that, you know, if you're feeling really anxious and nervous about traveling, it can be really helpful to talk to someone. You know, someone that you love, someone that you trust, someone that knows that you have lichen sclerosus. Talk to them about your fears, talk to them about your anxieties, bring it up in a support group, in a support forum, or you can even book a call with me and we can talk about your concerns with travel. And we can also even like create together your kind of special, individualized, customized kind of LS care kit based on you and your needs. We can kind of put that together in a mini little travel plan, and a like, you know, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. If this happens, this is what I'm going to do. So we can kind of craft a little individualized travel plan together if that's something that you're interested in. Again, for more information on my support calls and to book a support call, simply go to lostlabia.com/. support call. I will leave that listed in the description box below. And of course, as always, with private packs, I do have a discount code. So if you ever did want to get private packs, I will leave the link in the description box below. So go to the description box, find the link, click on that link, and then at checkout, use in all capital letters, no spaces, the Lost Labia Chronicles, and then you will save 15% off your order. I highly recommend getting a few of these so that you can kind of always have like a kind of conveyor belt like rotation of them to have on stock. So those are my basic kind of before tips. Okay, so it is travel day. Your plane departs today, your train departs today, or you've got your car packed up and you are ready to go on your vacation. Here are some tips to kind of minimize pain, minimize discomfort, and kind of manage things as best as you can during the travel time and then during your stay wherever you're staying. So with respect to travel, obviously a big thing is bring your little care package with you. Bring as much as you can on your carry-on, bring whatever you need with your carry-on, check what you don't need. So that's obviously going to be really, really helpful. So when you're traveling, whether it's on a car, on a train, on a plane, if you find that you have discomfort sitting, highly recommend that whatever pillow or donut cushion that you got in that before thing, bring that with you. So a lot of times these cushions are pretty soft and pretty easy to kind of scrunch up, shove it into your bag, and then when you get in the plane or the car, wherever, then you kind of just pop it underneath and you sit on it so that it is slightly less painful and uncomfortable. Second, if you are in an active flare and you are very itchy or you are in a lot of pain, you might want to consider using some kind of numbing cream for the travel time. So let's say your trip is 6 hours in the air. You might want to use some topical lidocaine or a compounded pain kind of cream to help numb up that area so that you don't have to feel those symptoms so strongly while you are surrounded by other human beings in a public space. So if you already have that as part of your treatment plan, absolutely bring it with you and consider just using it as a preventative so that it's just more comfortable. So you've got your pillow and you've got your numbing cream. Again, if you don't have any kind of numbing cream or pain cream and you have chronic pain with your LS, this is a conversation that you can have with your doctor to see if that would be a good thing for you to have, to include. So definitely a conversation to have, and I will do videos on pain and LS and the different kind of things that they can do and prescribe for pain and LS. So definitely something to consider there, can be super, super helpful. Then of course, when you're traveling, whatever kind of toilet essentials you opt for, if toilet paper was one of them, make sure that you're using your own toilet paper. Conversely, if your peri bottle was one of them, then make sure that you've got your peri bottle in your purse or your backpack or whatever. Make sure that you have this with you. And then every time that you go to the bathroom, you will just kind of gently rinse off that area. And then again, you will apply either your barrier cream after or your emollient of choice after. So that can be super, super helpful during. Definitely something I always say, have it on you, have it on hand. Maybe to your surprise, the public bathroom has like the most delicate, soft, unbleached, unscented toilet paper that you've ever felt in your life, and it's a dream. Then by all means use it. That's usually not the case. So I like to have these, and it also helps to kind of minimize flares and minimize discomfort, because for some people, using, kind of like wiping or dabbing with toilet paper can cause tears, can cause pain. So again, our whole kind of, MO, our whole goal, our whole mission while we're on this travel trajectory is to kind of minimize and prevent opportunities from arising that can lead to a flare or a worsening of our symptoms, right? We're kind of trying to keep this as easy and chill as possible. And a lot of that we can do by these kind of like preventative measures. Okay, so you've made it to your destination, your hotel, your resort, your house, wherever you are visiting. You've made it there. So here are some, again, some tips that you can do during your stay, during your vacation, to keep your LS managed, keep your LS under control, and to reduce the likelihood of flare-ups. So obviously a big part of reducing flare-ups is using your medication, right? So if you are using steroids, you want to make sure you're using your steroids. If you are using calcineurin inhibitors, you want to make sure that you're using your calcineurin inhibitors, and so on and so forth. So I have so many props here that I'm getting good. It's a big mess over here. But so yes, so if you're using your steroids, then obviously you want to make sure that you're using your steroids on the days that you are supposed to. So if that's every day, you use it every day. If it's every other day, use it every other day. If it's once to 3 times a week, that's when you use it. Now, most people will soak before they apply, and this is where the before part comes in. So you've already called ahead. You know what you're working with. You know, okay, I got a tub. I have access to a tub. Cool. I am going to make sure that I carve out time in the day and that people know that I'm going to take a bath, and you take your bath and you take your medication. Now, if you know that that place doesn't have a bath, but they have a shower, that is a-okay. Take a shower in place of a bath, especially for a week or so. That's not going to be what destroys you in the grand scheme of things. So if a bath isn't accessible, but a shower is, again, 15-20 minute shower, and then you apply your medication. If the place doesn't have a bath or a shower, then there's 2 options for you. So one was obviously the sitz bath that I mentioned before. So you would just fill up that sitz bath with warm water, and then you would sit and soak again on the toilet. You just kind of sit in there for 15 to 20 minutes. So you can use that as a kind of time to kind of get away from people and just kind of decompress a little bit. And another really important thing with respect to managing flares and keeping the disease under control is stress management. So since travel can bring on some stress, maybe while you're on the toilet soaking, or maybe when you're in the bath, plug in some earphones and listen to a meditation. Close your eyes while you're sitting there. Listen to a meditation, listen to some calming music, do some breathing exercises. Take advantage of this point and really treat it as a self-care moment, and a moment to kind of relax the nervous system and kind of bring everything back under control again. So you can do that. Now, if you don't have a sitz bath, you either haven't purchased one or you just don't want to, or maybe, honestly, when you compact it like this, it's not that big, but maybe you actually don't have space for it. Maybe you don't plan on checking luggage and you only have a small backpack. So if you don't have a sitz bath and you don't have a shower and then you don't have a bath, another thing that you can do is you can take your towels, so you just bring more, and you kind of fold it like this, and then you soak this in warm water, wring it out a little bit, and then you'll apply that to the vulva so that it's kind of doing something similar to what soaking or a shower does. We're trying to soften up that skin so that the medication can get all the way down to the basement layer of, the vulvar skin, which is where we need the medication to go. So there are kind of 4 different ways that you can do this, and feel free to get creative if you think of another way, or you have another way that you like to do this. If you don't have access to a shower or a tub, again, please let us know in the description box, not the description box, what am I saying? The comment section below, because sharing is caring and sharing is how we learn. We don't just learn from the medical literature. That is definitely one space that we learn from, but we also learn from each other. We also learn by listening to what other people do. Because my advice, some of it might be like, oh, that's wonderful. But then there's something else I say and you're like, no, that wouldn't work for me. But then you read what someone else said and you're like, but that would work for me. So great, incorporate that. My feelings are not hurt. I always want you to do what is best for you and your body. So those are some things that you can do during your stay to make sure that you're staying on top of your LS, keeping things managed, and reducing your likelihood for flares. Another thing is, if you are comfortable, and I stress, if you are comfortable, because we're all at different places mentally with our LS, but if you are comfortable, one thing that you can do is actually talk to the people that you're traveling with and let them know how you're doing. So for example, let's say I'm going on vacation with my friend. I'm gonna call her Sam, okay? Sam, I'm going on vacation with Sam. And I'm doing okay, but my LS is it's getting a little itchy and I'm worried about a flare. And I'm having dinner with Sam, and Sam goes, yeah, like tomorrow I was thinking we could hike this mountain. It's gonna take us about half a day, but I think, if we wake up at 6, we can get that done and then we can go to the museum and blah, blah, blah. Now I might wanna say like, hey Sam, I'm actually struggling with my physical health right now. I'm in a lot of pain and discomfort, or I'm really itchy, and I'm nervous that going on that hike is gonna set off a flare for me. Can we compromise? Can we do something a little less intense? Or maybe you go on the hike alone and I'll go hang out at a cafe and we can meet up afterwards and do the museum and then go get dinner or something like that. But have a conversation, communicate where you're at, communicate your needs, any boundaries that needed to be asserted so that they can help support you and not, cause more stress and more issues. Now, of course, I acknowledge that not everybody is comfortable talking to their friends or family members about lichen sclerosus, but if you do feel comfortable, sometimes that can be extremely helpful. One time I went to a wedding, and I was part of the wedding party. I forget what you call them. Like I was a bridesmaid or something. Yeah. And anyways, all the bridesmaids were getting ready in this person's house, and I had just traveled. I think I was at like 6 months into my LS journey, so I wasn't fully in remission, and I was definitely having a really hard time with travel, with the plane and all of that. I didn't have all of my things ready at this point. But I remember taking the person who owned the house, I remember taking them aside and I explained really quickly. I said, hey, do you mind if I go downstairs and use your bath? I know this sounds weird, but I have a condition. It's called lichen sclerosus. And I gave her the kind of like, elevator pitch. This is what it is. These are my symptoms. And, taking a bath really helps. And she was like immediately so compassionate. She was like, oh my God, yes, of course. She's like, come. So then she brought me to her basement and she shows me the bathroom. She goes, here's the tub. Here's how to turn the water on. Here's some towels, like, do you want me to make you some tea or anything like she's just so understanding and so compassionate. And so while some of the other bridesmaids were getting their hair done, I got to take, 30 minutes and just soak in a tub. This wasn't even to apply my steroid. This was just so that I could soak to get some relief because I was feeling really itchy and really just, ugh. So I got a little timeout. I got a little 30 minutes for me, 30 minutes to soak. So in that case, talking openly about what I was going through and asking for what I needed really helped me. Whereas if I didn't speak up, if I didn't share, if I didn't ask, I wouldn't have had that moment and I could have got a lot worse. And that really did kind of help things settle enough that I could enjoy the rest of the day. I could be present for the wedding, and it was such a beautiful day. So I'm really grateful that I was able to do that. So again, if you do feel comfortable, I highly encourage, having a discussion with the people that you're traveling with to let them know where you're at. I do have a video on talking to other people with LS, like to how to kind of talk to other people and tell them about your LS and all of that. But I do plan on revising that video. I also have a blog post. I'm also going to revise that blog post in 2023. I'm also going to make a couple short ebooks for talking to somebody with LS, talking to somebody. I'm going to have an ebook that you can give to friends and family and partners. So a few like kind of mini ebooks to kind of help facilitate that if you really struggle with that. I will leave a link, a card up here and a link in the description box to the video that I did. Please excuse my scary makeup. At the time that I filmed that, it was actually December of 2021, and I was trying to do this like Christmas look. I don't know. And so I did like this green eyeshadow and red lipstick to do like green and red for Christmas. It didn't look nearly as bad in person, but on film it looks horrifying, and I am like super duper embarrassed, but I still stand by much of the advice that I put in there. So I haven't taken it down, even though I'm like cringe looking at, how I look in that video. But so please just, I'm sorry for the makeup. But yeah, it's still a good video. So you can definitely check that out. Okay, you did it. You traveled there and back. You are back in your home. You are in your space. Yes. All right. Let's talk about a few things that can be helpful afterwards. So afterwards, I encourage you to celebrate, pat yourself on the back. it can be really, really hard, very hard for some people to travel with lichen sclerosus. And you did it. Regardless of if you were in pain, if you were itchy, if it didn't go according to your plans, you still did it. And that was hard. You are brave, you are strong, and congratulate yourself. Give yourself a little pat on the back. Now that you are home, you go back to resuming your treatment plan as you were before. So, whatever medication you're on, whatever dosing schedule on, you get right back into that. You get right back into the using of your emollients and all of those good things. What I like to do, and I don't do this so much anymore, but what I like to do in the beginning when I first started traveling again with LS was I kept a little travel, not a diary, but like a kind of travel journal. It was really small. And basically I would have like 2 columns and I would note down like what worked. So what really helped me and what I struggled with. So let's say I'm like, oh my gosh, peri bottle, lifesaver. So then I remember for future trips that like, yes, I definitely want to include a peri bottle. Now let's say I traveled and I didn't call ahead and I was planning on taking a bath, but there was just a shower and I prefer baths. Then in my little kind of what didn't work, I'll write down, call ahead next time, confirm that they have a bath, or buy a sitz bath and bring that with you so that you have the sitz bath in kind of, future travel time. So I kind of use that to kind of help refine my travel plan so I can kind of get it down to a nice little science where it's as good as it kind of can be. Next piece of advice, after you're home, everything is kind of moving into back to normal again. Sometimes it can be really helpful, in addition to do that kind of journal thing that I do, is to debrief with a support group, debrief with a friend, with a loved one, with a therapist, with a counselor. You can also debrief with me if you want to book a call and kind of talk through what worked, what didn't, and kind of how we can improve things for your next trip. Again, always happy to do those calls. Finally, my last tip is don't beat yourself up. If something didn't work out, if you missed a couple days of steroid application, if you forgot to bring emollient and then you couldn't find any, or anything like that, it's okay. Give yourself permission to forgive yourself, and it's okay. Nobody is perfect, no matter what happens. And if you missed a day or 2 of your steroids, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world, okay? Of course, we always encourage people as much as possible to be consistent with their medication use, but a day or 2 is not what is going to sink you forever. So if you missed a couple days, you acknowledge it, so okay. Now I'm back home, and like I mentioned before, you are just gonna resume your treatment plan and move right back into that. All right, beautiful soul. So that is this video on travel and LS. I know this video was a bit longer, so thank you so much for sticking with me on this. If you found this video helpful, again, please leave me a like. Please share your travel tips or your travel experiences in the comment section below. Of course, if anyone knows where to find this Vita Coco coconut oil in these little jars specifically, please leave a link. Please tell us where you get them, because I think a lot of people would love to get that. Of course, you can always go to my Amazon storefront. I have one for the United States and Canada. You can check that in the description box below. And I hope that you feel more hope about traveling. I hope that you feel a bit more encouraged, a bit more empowered to go on your next trip or to go on your next vacation. And that is it for this video. I will catch you in the next one.